I'd like to call this meeting of the Town Council of Centreville on September 19th, 2024 to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for our military and public safety personnel, past and present. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We'll begin with our agenda review. Based on what's before you, fellow council members, any objections to the agenda as presented?
No objections. No objections.
All right, we will proceed. In terms of a review of our minutes from the past meetings, our last meeting was on September 5th, 2024. Has everyone had a chance to read those minutes? And if so, are there any corrections to be noted?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the September 5th, 2024 meeting.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Yes. Second.
All right, all in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? No. Okay, we'll begin our citizens forum, the first of two this evening. Citizens are requested to keep their comments to 3 minutes. Anyone? Okay, we'll move on then. We had originally 2 appearances this evening. Elaine Steadley is going to be rescheduled to come back, I think, to first meeting in October. Does that sound right? And she, of course, was going to be representing Queen Anne's County Legacy Foundation and speaking about the 2024-25 events that they have in store for us. So, in light of her not being able to attend this evening, we will have Mary Margaret Goodwin. You are welcome to come up. You are up. And of course, last time Miss Mary Margaret Goodwin came before us, she talked a little bit about the 250th birthday and a Centreville commission to make those arrangements. And so we're really excited to hear from her tonight, the updates and the great historian that she is for the county and for the town.
Okay, so we launched this tonight from here. I've sent you all the full list, and so everybody has this plan. We had the commission meeting last night. Big shock to everybody when they saw this long list, but we have a really good group. So the main structure of the whole plan is we are going to find out who we were before we became who we are. So how that works out is a little complicated. Property by property. Just not only on Commerce Street or Liberty Street, all the way to 360, all the way out past Symphony Village.
Okay.
To include Taylor's Mill and the now that came all the way to Hillside, among other things. So you will see on the list all of the things that will go into this whole story of who we were, because most people have no idea of who we have been and how much we have contributed to the 250 years of the United States, and especially to Maryland. So this, sorry, I'm without my oxygen, so I'm having trouble breathing. But we're going to go property by property and do the complete, starting with the Maryland, the present property owner and occupier, and then we're going to go all the way back to the first time when we were Chesterfield, 900 acres, and how that all got divided up. Now, people don't realize, I'm, on other matters that you've been involved in, I've tried to explain to people, without the Y mill, we would not be Centreville. There would be no Centreville. It might have been something else, but it was Richard Swetnam who built Y Mill, the actual mill, and the Hemsleys, husband and wife, gave him 900 acres of Chesterfield. There is still one marker left in the ground of the extent to which it came all the way to the wharf. So we know some of it. So from all the way out at Taylor's Mill, the owners over time dug an actual canal, a real canal, just like the Washington DC C&O Canal, a smaller version, but with the path along the side for the donkeys to pull all of the wooden platform with all of the bags of grain. So we're going to hopefully, among other things, come up with a recommendation for a development plan for Hillside, which will also include the mill. Now, I have, amongst all my wonderful 3 floors of history treasures, where I can't move around even with my walker, I have the list of all of the land records for Chester Mill, among other things. But they're very, very complicated, and there's at least 14 changes of bits and pieces of the mill itself. So that's going to become a little project all by itself. I already have plans started for a week from now, going to the state archives, starting with some of the team. We will be doing the searches of where the holes are in what I don't know.
Okay.
And we've got people on the commission who are doing various portions of what's on your list. And this list will, thanks to Yay, this list will go up next week on the town website, and we'll have a Facebook page up, and all of this will be available to the public. And letters will start going to each of the owners all along Commerce Street and all along, and also on other streets as well. Not all of them. In case you wonder, why are we going all the way out beyond Symphony Village? Not only because of Taylor's Mill, which has very, very little left, but I just want everybody, because so many people shop at Facebook, I mean at Food Lion, and if you go to Food Lion, the entire parking lot of Food Lion is the racetrack. And in front of the building of Food Lion itself is a yellow stripe. You have to walk over it to walk through the doors. That is exactly where the rim of the racetrack was. And the reason I'm pointing it out is because on one day, in one race, we had 60,000 visitors to Centreville.
Wow.
One weekend, on a Saturday, for that particular horse race. And it was in part for a Queen Anne's County horse that was racing. Now, this was all buggy racing. It wasn't our present for. But it's one of those things, and that historic house of the person who owned that track is still in existence and is lived in very well and been kept up very well. So we have so much history in this town, and we've let it sort of dribble and go by the by. I thought I would get through last night's meeting in under an hour. It was 2.5 hours. Because I couldn't take people through even the most minimal without just going through some of it. We didn't discuss trains, Dan, because you and Roland had already gotten most all together.
Right.
But I have a small gift that I will be giving to you, the train part, because I've got brand new information that nobody has seen before. And maybe even with 1 or 2 photographs.
Oh, okay.
So, and again, the public doesn't realize we're not talking about one railroad, we're talking 2. So we've got 2 different situations to do the history work on, in terms of not so much just the trains and how they came to be here, but more in terms of what came in and what went out. You will notice that there's a very big slot for the town commissioners to participate. And that means, and I know how much your town manager loves the town history. So if I asked you what was the most important thing that the early town commissioners, and they were commissioners, not council members, they were called commissioners, but what do you think was the most important member responsibility for the town? Not the operation. You were the inspectors of the outhouses. You had to go and inspect, and then if there were problems, and there were, then you had to go into legal settings where they were having to force people to do cleanup, including one whole basement that and it's all on the record, so.
I just want to go on record as saying I'm very grateful that we have evolved past that responsibility.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a wastewater treatment plant instead.
These are the kinds of things as we go through,
Yes.
because one of the things that personally I was really proud of having been accomplished by one of the early town councils, we had a serious problem where there were problems with the quality and the bacteria in milk that we were shipping by rail out of the county and into Philadelphia, where most of our milk was going by rail. The problem was it would come in the containers and sit here and wait for the train, and if the train was like off schedule or something, then the milk would go bad. So the town council built, at town's expense, the ice house. And what we now have on opposite the, come on, Mary Margaret, opposite the dentist's office, where we have the big pond.
Yes.
That big pond actually was dug out to do the trees, but before that it was flat, and it was where that whole area was the ice house at the town's expense. So these are some of the things. Now, what happens when we finish getting all this great information together? That's the best part. First of all, you should know, I'm not getting any pay for anything I'm doing on the history. And it's going to take a whole lot of late nights, I guarantee you. Because even with the people on the commission helping, they're helping me, and we're all doing it for free. But when we get all that information, what are we going to do? There is a grant that we will be going for before October, and we will have the money to produce a book. And we'll actually have a separate group of 3 people who will be, as we begin to get information in, we'll start designing and then put everything into the book. Then the book gets put up on Amazon. Money comes back from the sale to the town for whatever projects.
That's great.
And I think we could make a few dollars. Because it's not only going to be a big book, but it's really going to be a fun and interesting story. And most importantly of all, is the fact that nobody else in the whole of Maryland has ever done this, because the other thing we're asking of all of the owners and occupiers is some kind of on-site post or poster, either in front of on special days or inside the business or outside on the porch or something at every property of history. And then they all get rewarded as being, you know, as with some kind of a special gift that they are part of the 250 birthday, which will be an emblem. Now, we are going forward with the delivery from Y Mill. Gary Hoffman is arranging for the permits all the way down to 13. So we will bring in the wheat. It will get ground. Everybody can see it's being ground. It will be put into a couple of barrels, put into the trailer, and then it will be pulled, the trailer, all the way down to 13, through Centreville, down to the wharf, and put aboard a ship. And that ship will go up the bay to head of the Elk River, which is where the George Washington warehouse was for Valley Forge.
Wow.
And note that he was desperate for food in the wintertime, which means that getting the food before the end of March was critical, which means that we will be doing this sometime in late February or into March. And I'm talking also with the National Park Service at Valley Forge to see if they would be willing to come to the Elk River place where the barrels were left and continue all the way to Valley Forge, with a whole group going along from Centreville to Valley Forge, because there is no doubt it was the wheat from here and the pork. How we're going to do the pigs, I'm not quite sure yet in the wagon, but my plan is to have people from Mill all the way, from 50 really, all the way to Centreville with waving flags, wishing George Washington good luck.
Hear,
Or
hear.
something like that, with flags. So if you have any questions.
Sounds phenomenal, the work that, the commission has done up to this point. The work that's been done by the commission up to this point is phenomenal. And the ideas that you have are just amazing and really highlight the unique history that we have that I don't think many people appreciate.
I've looked at what everybody else is doing so far, and there's lots of things, but most of them are single events.
Sure.
Not more than 3 or 4 at the most. We're going to have, people here don't understand that before the Revolutionary War, we didn't automatically have the guns and the ammunition for the guns. The boats, the ships left from here and Annapolis, from our shores, and went to the Caribbean to St. Eustatius. St. Eustatius was where the Dutch Republic had the big, huge warehouses, and they had shipped everything to there, and then we picked up everything, paying them in French money, which we know how that came to be. So they brought it back, and what we're now looking for, what I'm looking for, is where was all of that stored? Because likely a lot more was stored here in Queen Anne's County than anybody was aware of. And I'm sure it went out quickly to whatever, but that part of the record I don't have. What I do have, however, is a 35 millimeter film that I shot on St. Eustatius before all of the development on the island took place, so 40 years ago. And
Wow.
I shot exactly where the warehouses were, and then I'm going to be able to impose those drawings of the warehouses into the film.
That's amazing. Are there specific things that the council could be doing right now?
There's what?
Is there anything that we as the town council can do right now to be more helpful, or?
No, I mean,
Okay.
what I'm really concerned about is when the public starts asking questions about how they can get involved and start offering, because this is already happening on
Yes.
Facebook with people saying, well, my grandfather was here, and my grandmother did this, and so on and so forth. I'm going to be out looking for names and so forth. How we keep track of that in one system is the thing I'm working on over the weekend. I don't want anything going into the office, because that's going to just cluster everything. They're already cramped enough as it is. And I do, speaking of being cramped, the museum, the cemetery committee meets in the office there, and they are on the commission, and we will be going back to doing what we did twice already, where we turned the cemetery into the outdoor museum on certain weekends, where we have a stake in the ground at a particular grave with the photograph of the person who's buried and their contributions to Centreville.
Wow.
So I've tried to cover all the bases because it's all based on what I have in all my boxes and cartons. 30 years of work. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Well, we appreciate everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I need help from you. I'll be back.
We know you will.
That's for sure.
You know me.
Thank you.
You know me well enough.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move into our public hearing. We have two items, ordinance 08-2024, temporary moratorium, followed by ordinance 09-2024, cannabis provisions. The subject of this hearing is ordinance 08-2024 for the purpose of adopting a temporary moratorium on the application for approval of, construction of, expansion of, processing of, or issuance of any subdivision, site plan, or building permit applications for any residential or mixed-use project where the anticipated equivalent dwelling units exceeds 7 EDUs for the total project pending consideration, and adoption of revised zoning ordinance provisions as the town council may consider advisable, and to adopt an updated capacity management plan and sewer allocation policy. I will now ask Ms. von Emberg to provide background on ordinance 08-2024.
So, as you know, you all adopted a new comprehensive plan last fall, and part of that plan calls for complete neighborhoods and really a redo of the TND provisions that already exist in the current zoning ordinance. So, you also are in the process of upgrading a wastewater treatment plant, and there is a little bit of capacity left in the existing one, but not a lot. And so what this ordinance would do would impose a 6-month moratorium on all residential and mixed-use projects over 7 EDUs. It does not apply to commercial or industrial. And the moratorium would give time for the town to update the TND plan neighborhood provisions in the zoning ordinance, and also to update the capacity management plan and sewer allocation policy. So that's the purpose of it.
Any questions or comments from the council before we proceed? Okay. I will now call upon Gay Adams, our town clerk, to present evidence of the published notice of this hearing. Thank you.
This is to certify that the annexed legal advertisement has been published in the publications and insertions listed below. Ordinance number 08-2024 and 09-2024 were published in the Bay Times Record Observer on August 23rd and August 30th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will first hear from all those in favor of the proposed ordinance 08-2024, and then hear from those that are opposed. We ask that you keep all comments to 3 minutes, and you, of course, are welcome to provide written testimony to the council as well.
Read the guidelines. Welcome to this meeting of the Centreville Town Council. This is a public meeting and we welcome your participation. By attending, you acknowledge that this session is recorded and aired live on QACTV 7. If you have the new Breeze Line streaming box, the channel is now 2001. During the meeting, we ask that you turn your cell phones off and hold personal conversations outside the meeting room. The scheduled agenda is available on the information table just outside. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. The town council respects and appreciates your desire and right to convey your message freely, and in keeping with the dignity of proceedings, we ask that all views be expressed in a respectful and civil manner. Comments longer than 3 minutes should be submitted in writing. If questions are a part of your comments, we will refer those to the appropriate individual. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will proceed with hearing from those that are in favor of proposed ordinance 08-2024. Please feel free to come forward at this time. Okay, now we'll hear from those opposing ordinance 08-2024. Okay, the Centreville Town Council will consider all comments presented this evening before making a final decision regarding proposed ordinance 08-2024. Do I hear a motion to adjourn this hearing?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? I now declare this hearing adjourned. All right. We'll move it to our next public hearing. Subject of this hearing is ordinance 09-2024 for the purpose of amending the Town of Centreville zoning ordinance, which is Chapter 170 of the Town Code, to update the cannabis provisions in order to administer and enforce the town zoning ordinance more effectively. I will now ask our town attorney, Ms. von Emberg, to provide background on this ordinance.
So as you know, the state has kind of progressed in the cannabis law. We started with medical cannabis, progressed to recreational, and then they did another update to the recreational provisions. And so what this ordinance will do will bring us into compliance with that state law that exists. It'll take out the reference to medical that we have in our current ordinance. It'll make our setbacks match what's in the state law. And this will also allow the dispensaries in the C2, C3, and PBD districts. And we define on-site consumption establishments but prohibit them. So that's what this will accomplish.
Any questions or comments from the council up to this point? I will now call upon Gay Adams Town Clerk to present evidence of the published notice of hearing.
This is to certify that the annexed legal advertisement has been published in the publications and insertions below. Ordinance 08-2024 and 09-2024 was published in the Bay Times Record Observer on August 23rd and August 30th.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will first hear from all those in favor of proposed ordinance 09-2024 and then hear from those opposed. We ask again that you keep all comments to 3 minutes. You're welcome to provide written testimony to the town council as well. And Madam Clerk, I think, dispense with reading the guidelines again. So for those that are in favor of proposed ordinance 09-2024, we invite you to come forward at this time. Okay, we will now hear from all those opposing proposed ordinance 09-2024. All right, the town council will consider any comments presented this evening before making a final decision regarding proposed ordinance 09-2024. Do I hear a motion to adjourn the hearing?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Anyone opposed or abstaining? I now declare this hearing adjourned. We have been using a consent agenda recently and having a consent agenda item here before us with 2 items. Just for the public's edification, how the consent agenda works, the town may take a vote to act on all items on the consent agenda, may remove items for further discussions. Items not removed from the consent agenda will be considered in one motion. Items removed for clarification or discussion by the council will be acted on as appropriate. Is there any objection to moving through these as a consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Should we do a roll call vote on this?
I think so.
Yes. Councilman Beecham?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Councilman Worth?
Yes.
Councilman Keel?
Yes.
All right, thank you. The ordinances are approved. We'll move to new business, excuse me. First up, ordinance 10-2024 budget amendment. This is the first reading for this, and we invite our finance officer to come forward, Ms. Karen Luffman, to provide some additional background.
Hello?
Hi. Sorry, just gotta get my glasses on so I can read. All right, so the memo before you looks a little different than the one that was emailed. Jim and I had some communications. We're just trying to make it a little cleaner for you to see things in the chart below. So I'll go over the few comments in the beginning, and then the chart below will show you the breakdown. As of June 30th, we completed our end of year mark. Obviously, at this point, most departments should be at 100% spent. The overage and underages are as seen below. General fund revenue, we received 109% of anticipation, so $557,000 above what we anticipated based on local income tax being higher than we anticipated. With COVID, we haven't really increased the mark, but this year we kind of got a nice bump. So when me and Carolyn did the budget this year, we tried to account for that in FY25. A70, which is our planning and zoning, was overspent by $3,665, and this overspending was based on an increase in MDIA fees. We also have a revenue line that accounts for the other side of this, so the increase in fees is also seen on the increase in revenue side. A81 is 105 North Liberty Building, was $4,863 overspent. The unexpected purchase of a broken HVAC unit in that building is what caused that to be overspent. H40 Main Street, And this is kind of a little skewed. It's 167% spent over budget a lot, based on a grant that she had come in. We don't budget her grants when we go throughout the fiscal year. So yes, she was 26,000 over the 40,000 that we set, but she received the 32,665 in extra grant funding. So essentially I didn't do a budget amendment for hers based on that.
Makes sense.
Enterprise fund revenue, I wasn't sure where we were gonna end up, this year, but we actually were 103% received, so we received approximately 93,000 above what we budgeted. And I think some of that is based on looking at the delinquent fees and investment earnings that we're still earning that over 5% interest on our money. 7C21 is sewer, 102% spent, $19,200, and this was based on the electricity charges increasing after the budget. So we renewed the contract for electricity the previous year, but it was in the middle of budget, so we weren't able to budget exactly based off the new numbers. So that's what you see the increase for there. 7C24 is water. They were 104% spent, approximately $39,461. And the big thing here was, when Kip was ordering water meters, they were telling us they were gonna be a year to a year and a half out. We ended up getting a shipment of 200, like 9 months before it was expected. So that's the big increase there. Also, the 120 water invoices, they're actually covered by a grant, and that's for the lead and copper, right, Kip? Okay. C25 is the farm, 132% overspent. So for a total of 18,969, and a big thing here is the aging infrastructure and the repairs on the equipment. I know they had to get a lot of pivot tires because they were in terrible shape. So we adjusted in FY25 to try to account for some of this, so we don't hopefully have to do another budget amendment. So at the bottom and the back of the memo is just kind of lets you see a breakdown of every department, where their budget of expenses was at, where the actual spending came in. That what's highlighted in yellow are the ones that were over budget as seen in the above memo. So the total for the budget amendment is $112,952, $35,322 that is general fund, and $77,630 is enterprise fund. And so the budget amendment, the ordinance will cover the budget amendment for this amount. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Just a comment for my fellow council members. I encourage you to look at the numbers that are not highlighted in yellow, that are not being addressed in this ordinance. Those are all places where the town staff outperformed budget and it's underspent. So the fact that we're adjusting the budget upward by $112,952 is really overshadowed to a large extent by other departments that were under budget. We'll leave them in the budget as showing up as under budget. And those
Approximately 700,000.
Those unexpected funds will fall to general fund, and I'm sure we'll find a good purpose for that money with our upcoming projects.
Yeah, very good note. So approximately 700K.
And this is a first reading. You'll have a second reading at the first meeting in October. The second meeting in October is the reorganization meeting, which typically we don't have other business at. It's just the reorg. And then, so November 7th will be the public hearing and consideration.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments on this before we move on? Thank you very much, Karen. Appreciate it. Okay, next up is ordinance 11-2024, sidewalks. This also is a first reading. You have the packet before you. Madam Town Attorney, are you providing additional information, or?
I can.
And before you do, just for public's edification, we've been talking about this for some time, and this kind of helps address a couple different things. But Sharon, if you don't mind commenting, and then I have two quick notes, things that I caught.
I have something too.
So,
I got something too.
back in the fall, or the end of last year, I think I sent you all the memo. setting out some things that I thought in the town code needed to be cleaned up related to the sidewalks, to give the town the most flexibility to allow sidewalks to be repaired, completed, maintained, and give the town the most protection for that. So these were some, based on that memo, I thought, I got a consensus that you all wanted to move forward with these changes. So I made the change, prepared this ordinance to make those changes. And also, I think there was a subsequent meeting where the idea was to make the snow removal more universal across the town. So I added that change into this as well. So I understand you all may have some changes or tweaks to this. This is just to give you all something to think about, and happy to make any other additional changes you feel are appropriate.
Yeah, so I'll jump in, and Sharon and I had an opportunity before the meeting to talk about these two items, and it may overlap with what others have caught. On the very first page at the bottom, second line from the bottom, where that actual sentence begins with, "The town shall notify the property owner in writing at his or her address as shown on the town assessment records by ordinary mail, as to the requirement of the property owner regarding the construction for new sidewalks or repair or altering of sidewalks in that street." And I just think it reads better if it was on that street rather than in that street. And then on the third page, this is under section 134-6, failure of property owner to comply costs. In the italicized section, on its employees, agents, and assigns shall have the right of entry for the purposes of accomplishing said work at reasonable hours upon any premises in the town which abuts a town street or sidewalk for the benefit of the public. And my question, of course, was if it just says town street or sidewalk and we limit it to that, then we exclude Liberty and Commerce streets. So the suggestion that we came up with is to make that a town and or state street. So those are the two things that I had. Did you have anything, Jim, that you caught? Councilman Worth, I think you had something.
Well, it's just a comment, really. In looking at this, the section standards, 134-5, I think probably should be in either the zoning ordinance or in the subdivision regulations, because it's specific about how to construct a sidewalk, and also it talks about distances of curb cuts and all this other technical things that don't have anything to do with sidewalk maintenance. And I don't think we can do, I don't want to do it right now. The planning commission, of course, is reviewing all those things now, but just to keep it here for now, and eventually we'll move it somewhere else. We can't really, because there's other issues with these requirements. If you try to enforce them, like my property doesn't meet these requirements. Most of the properties in the old part of town will not meet these curb cut distances, how far the driveway is from the edge of the property line. Those issues in the old part of town just don't work out. So, but for now, they can do what other property owners have done. They can go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and resolve it. So,
It's a good point.
yeah, okay. But we'll straighten it out sometime.
Councilman Keel?
No, I answered my own question. We can disregard.
Got it.
I think
Any other discussions or comments? Okay. Next, we'll talk about,
Well, that.
oh, go ahead, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
when's the public hearing, et cetera?
We would do it the same night if you're okay, November 7th.
Okay,
The advertising requirements is too soon for the first meeting in October, so.
okay. Hopefully it doesn't snow before January 7th or whatever. Yeah, okay.
So for those tuned in,
Yeah.
it sounds like the public hearing on these, that's both A and B, right? 10-2024 and 11-2024 will be
Yes.
November 7th. Okay, next up, we'll talk about the annexation and public facilities agreement.
So at your last meeting, you all approved the annexation for Providence Farm, but we got to the annexation agreement a little late. So we wanted to give you additional time to review it in case there were any comments or changes to that. So that's why it's on your agenda for this time. But the terms of it are all the same as what we discussed at the last meeting with the annexation. It was just to give you additional time.
I didn't notice anything significant. Any fellow council members have comments, questions, concerns?
A question, this anticipates a rights and responsibilities agreement to follow?
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent. My fellow council members, no. Okay. Next up, South Pump Station update and repair requests. If our Director of Public Works could come forward to provide any additional background on this that might be helpful.
Did you all vote to approve that?
The annexation agreement?
Yeah.
We did not take a vote.
Okay. Yeah,
We
you
need to do
you
that.
need to actually approve that.
If you don't mind staying where you are, we'll come right back to you. Yeah, I apologize for moving a little too quickly past that.
I thought maybe I missed it, it happened so
No,
fast.
good catch. Glad our town attorney's paying attention. Thank you.
Move to approve the annexation
All
agreement.
right, we have a motion to approve.
I'll
as
second.
presented. We have a second. Any further discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Beecham?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Councilman Worth?
Yes.
Councilman Keel?
Yes.
All right, thank you all. All right,
Okay.
our illustrious Public Works Director, Mr. Kit Matthews.
We're bringing this before you tonight. We're talking about the pumps that are in the south pump station down by Millstream Park. And we've run into some issues. The pumps that were in that pump station are the original ones from, it was prior to 2010, an upgrade that was done on it. And they're large 75 horsepower pumps. One of them we had a problem with. It was so far down below its efficiency rating, it was due to be replaced before it actually quit altogether. In doing that, ordered the motor and parts and everything. Some of the parts still aren't here to finish the repairs on it, but the pump that we took out, we would like to send it in and have it remanufactured. This isn't something that was thought about or budgeted for, so that's the reason for this request. You have in the paperwork there in front of you the prices for it, rebuilding it versus buying a new one. By the time they get it rebuilt, it's basically a new pump anyway. However, the price difference is there. By rebuilding it, you're saving $24,634. So it's kind of a no-brainer unless you want to spend the $58,000 plus to buy a new one over rebuilding this one. But I think my advice is to let them go ahead and rebuild it. So that's what I wanted to bring to your attention.
And I apologize if I'm not totally clear on this, but when I'm reading this and it says we're going to repair the one of the two, but then it ends up with a net of a spare pump, are the
Yeah,
two?
We're gonna, the one is in the middle of being repaired. We're waiting on parts for it to finish. That was foreseen, and we knew it was coming. It was included in the budget. The thing is that we're looking at the other pump now, and it's starting to, lose its efficiency to the point that it could creep up on a failure. So what we're doing is taking the original one that we took out. We're going to have it rebuilt, set on the shelf until everything's copacetic with the first pump installed and good. Then we're going to take the number one out and put this one in. And we'll probably be back for the same ask again. However, I'm hoping that'll be in next year's, we'll include it in next year's budget. So that way we've got one good pump on the shelf for this pump station, which is one of the two main pump stations of the town.
Well, I know I'm not alone in being a fan of having a good continuity of operations plan, and if we can afford to have something on the shelf, then that's great. Any additional information?
Nope, that pretty much covers it.
Any discussion up here, questions?
What's the warranty on a new pump compared to a rebuilt one?
1 year.
The 1 year on both of them?
With with a municipal or industrial, you're looking,
Okay.
some of them you won't even get a year
Okay.
warranty on
Yeah.
it, but, yep.
All right.
Are we prepared to have a motion to approve?
I got one question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What's the expected life of a new one versus this refurbished one?
It all depends on the conditions. It's kind of hard to put a price on, I mean, a guess on these pumps even because,
Is this like a 10-year thing or a 5-year thing or 2-year?
like I say, it depends
Yeah.
on the condition. If you have a pump station that's taking in a lot of grit, sand and stuff, it's going to shorten the life of it by eroding the impeller and the
Okay.
volute and such.
Okay, so that, I mean, so it wouldn't really matter if it was new or refurbished, the lifetime would be about the same,
They're
just
gonna be-
totally dependent on
Be
the,
about the same.
okay.
Yep.
All right.
So,
Any other comments or questions? Can we get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
We have a motion, can I, about a second? Any
Read
further
it-
discussion?
Read it first, don't I?
Oh, yeah.
Includes an
I make a
amount.
motion to approve the purchase for the Hills Industrial Job Estimate for submersible pump repair at a cost of not to exceed $33,585.33.
That sounds like a real strong motion. How about a second?
So I would request a friendly amendment to change the word purchase in here because it could be misleading that we're purchasing a new pump instead of paying to have the existing one rebuilt.
I agree.
thank you for that.
Refurbish or, yeah.
All right, noting that friendly amendment, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any further discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed or abstaining? All right, that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kip.
Thank you.
We'll now proceed with reports of boards and commissions, and we'll begin with Maryland Municipal League.
Nothing significant to report. MML is now accepting registration for the winter conference.
Got it. Thank you for that, Councilman Beecham. Council of Governments.
I got a few things. So Todd Mon spoke of the regional landfill, which was supposed to be Queen Anne's County this time. Now it's going to be in Caroline County until 2042.
Wow.
So they had to, I guess they had to give them some money and they're continuing until 2042. And they have till 2028 to decide whether they want to keep it on, when it comes to Queen Anne's County, the Gannon Farm out off of Harper Road, or come up with a new location. They also want us to look at our contract and make sure our contractor is taking the trash to the Midshore Regional Landfill in Ridgely, where they're supposed to be taking it. All trash is supposed to be going to the landfill. And they're also doing a countywide curbside study. Again, I think they did this several years ago. Oh. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just didn't come up with
That's all right.
the microphone for you. Yes, the contract we have with our current contractor, it stipulates in there that all of the trash has to go to the midshore.
Okay. And he also said that the money has to be spent, the ARPA money needs to be spent by December 31st.
Yeah, we're good with that.
Okay. That's all I have for you.
Yep,
Yes.
thank you.
Thanks, Kip.
I'm trying to think. Big one was, the other big thing was Queenstown has a cannabis growing company that wants to come to Queenstown on a farm, the Wick Dudley farm, I do believe, out off of Cherry Lane, it borders 18 and Cherry Lane. They already have a 1-acre greenhouse there, so they're interested in, and they said that this vendor said one of us was supposed to attend that meeting. I said, we never heard anything about it.
That was supposed to be me, but I had a work meeting that overlapped. I was communicating with Wick about it.
Okay.
Couldn't get there.
Okay. That's pretty much, Commissioner Jack Wilson reported that the language for the accessory dwelling units is not being completed at this time. They're still working on it. So,
And just making sure I heard you correctly, so based on the change in the landfill status, if I heard you correctly, it's not a foregone conclusion that once we're up again, that it would be in the same location that was
right,
proposed
they
up to
have
this
till
point?
the 2028 to decide whether they want to change the
Okay.
location of it or not.
Interesting.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you. Parks Advisory Board, anything to report that you can think of?
The fishing derby was this past weekend. I believe the derby went really well. Nice attendance, and
Yes.
the October 3rd meeting will have, we'll award trophies for that. So,
Excellent. Thank you. Planning Commission.
Yeah, the Planning Commission met last night, and they reviewed, whoa. Yeah, they reviewed changes to the land use map that was included in the comprehensive plan. So just like the comprehensive plan, it has to go to the state for 60-day review, and then it'll come back to us, and I guess we'll have a public hearing and vote on those changes to the land use map. Then after that, there would be changes to the zoning map, which would be another process. Also, there were at least 3 planning commission members who were interested in going to to a conference that's held every year by the state Department of Planning, but our budget won't really support that. So what I'd like to do is, I don't want to amend the budget now, but for next year, I would like to try to increase the amount of money. I think it's important that our planning commissioners be well educated in the latest planning concepts, and they were lucky to go last year because it was held on Kent Island, so it was a day trip. Just had to pay for registrations, and I believe that's all that's in the budget now is pay for registrations, but wouldn't be able to pay for transportation or hotel.
What's the rough order of magnitude to send 3 people?
We'd have to find out what that would be.
It's not like tens of thousands.
No, it's not that much, right?
no, I did respond in how much in the planning and zoning budget, sorry, based on the line item for planning commission and travel, that kind of thing. It came up to about $1,000. So I don't know, if the council wants to, I can work with Karen to see if we can move some money around or in A92 and under administration, but it wasn't budgeted. So that's basically, I said, under A70, this is kind of what's in there that could be used for it, but.
Is it too late to do that for this year?
The conference is in October. Yeah, I would have to be in the next week or so, I think.
In the next 2 minutes?
Next 2 minutes, yeah.
Next 2 minutes, to amend our budget?
Yeah.
Based on the underspending by
Whatever,
departments.
Karen.
Not that we want to be reckless, but.
I don't know how many are, how many are interested or are able to go.
We know it's
so-
3, but there were only 4 people at the meeting last night, so we don't know.
We have a travel policy. As long as there's the capacity, the travel policy would determine the exact dollars spent, right? And you think it would fall within, say, $1,000 per member that would attend?
Yeah, probably the hotel is probably going to be
Do you mind?
the most expensive part. Yeah. Stacy, if you
So the registration, if they do it by tomorrow, which is the 20th, this early bird, is $190.
Okay.
The discounted hotel rooms are $143. Again, they have to do it by tomorrow. Sure. The way we've told them now is that the budget can cover their registration if they're interested, and the hotel right now is on their own. Because there was only 1,000, and we had, like Dan said, I think 4 people said they were interested.
Yeah, well, there's 3, I think, but, right. Well, one of
I
them
think
couldn't
we
make it.
can probably handle that, and we can probably get it done tomorrow. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we amend the budget on an emergency basis to provide up to $1,000 per planning commission member and planning staff that may wish to attend.
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 And anybody opposed or abstaining? And I'm definitely for that. Thank you. And Dan, Councilman Worth, thanks for bringing that up. Okay, anything else for Planning Commission?
No, I'm pretty happy with that.
Awesome, great. That's the agility with which we should act. Reports from department heads. We'll begin with our town manager, Carolyn.
I only just have a couple things. One, I attended a training this week on floodplain management. It was actually a really good training, and very knowledgeable. We had people from, they were basically floodplain coordinators for the, we had Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia there, and a diversity of people who attended. So really great training. Just a reminder to everyone that we will not have an election on October 7th, that was canceled. And staff continue to work on various development projects. I don't really have a whole lot. I was on vacation the week before and then training this week. So the other thing I wanted to, and I don't know if Stacy responded to an email that I sent earlier today about the tree list. I don't know if you responded to that one. Okay. There's a tree list that is included in your packets. This is an amended tree list that the tree board met last week, I believe. The tree board, according to our code, they are the ones who establish and approve the tree list. So I think it went to the planning commission last night. I think they reviewed it, and I don't think they had any changes. So I just wanted to give this to the council. And then this will probably come back up when we present our street tree ordinance soon.
The never-ending street.
Yes,
Yes.
never-ending street tree ordinance. So, but I just wanted to give this to the council for your information. So that's all I have.
I just had a quick question in case you have visibility on it. It's something that we've mentioned before with the detention center moving to the Eastern pre-release site. Have we heard anything about a timeline for that to where, because I know I've been mindful of what that then does in terms of EDU capacity. You know, we have a jail with lots of folks flushing toilets, and that won't be doing that. So has a town or county said anything about a timeline? No, just curious. Thank you for your report.
And I can follow, I've got to follow up with the county on something else. I can follow up with Tom on that.
Chief of Police, Lieutenant Larimore. Thank you, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Fill it in for Chief Hobbs this evening. For the month of August, we had a increase in traffic enforcement across citations, warnings, and repair orders, as well as an significant increase in incidents. A lot of that had to do with schools being back in sessions. There's more traffic in town and more people moving about. Some significant events that we had in the month of August is National Night Out. That was a huge success. A lot of people out, got a lot of good compliments, positive feedback on it. You know, a huge shout out to Ms. Laura Anthony and her husband. She was huge in setting that up and getting it organized for us and really moving the ball forward on that. We've also been working with the Lexipol to update the manuals and policies within the agency. That's all we have to report for the month of August.
And then I've been drawing attention to this. I think it's awesome. We have yet another month with 0 criminal arrests for juveniles. So as I continue to say in jest, either our youth are really good or not, or they're really good at hiding their crimes. So one or the other. Yeah. Any questions for the lieutenant? Thank you for everything you guys are doing, and gals. Town attorney, anything further?
I have nothing more.
We've heard from our finance officer, Director of Public Works, anything further?
Kip is chatty tonight.
Two quick things for you. The first thing, yesterday, the new operating system for the water treatment plants went online, so staff's getting their feet wet with this and getting it sorted out, but it looks like it's doing pretty good job. As you know, was probably reported about a year ago or longer. The system that we had was obsolete with no more support for it. So it's done, and as far as I knew, by 3:30, there were no issues. So, and hope it stays that way. The second thing, on Sunday, the 22nd, from noon till 3, is the Corsica River Day, held at the
Conquest.
Conquest
Park.
Beach Park.
Yeah, Conquest.
So, wanted you to know that staff has got a booth set to go there. We have several things that we're showing. One is phragmitis eradication, the new wastewater treatment plant that we're in the very early stages of design and preliminary engineering report. The so-called scoop the poop for all the dog lovers in town to clean up after their little furry friends. So we've got raffles, giveaways, things like that to promote the town. So if you get a chance, come on out. They have quite a selection of vendors and booths scheduled for this.
So Kip, you said Corsica River Day is Sunday, September 22nd, noon to 3?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
that's great. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Staff has done a great job at working on getting our booth set up. They've done a really good job.
And then just anything that, from the human resources world, nothing significant. Town clerk?
Nothing right now.
All right. We'll now proceed into our second citizens forum. Citizens are requested to keep their comments to 3 minutes, as indicated before. Any comments? Okay. We'll end with our council roundtable. Councilman Keel.
It was brought to my attention that we have a camper on a lot right down the street.
Which lot?
The house, the old Ickes house. There's a camper, and evidently somebody's living in this camper that their parents live next door, and it's either a grandchild or a kid that lives next door in the camper on that lot. So if we could get that checked out. And the other thing is, Mr. Dan Tabler and his wife both turned 100 this year, or October. I think Mr. Dan is October 7th, and I think Miss Ruth, or I can't remember her name, I think it's Miss Ruth, is April, or October like 26th, they both turned 100. I want to know if we can do a proclamation for them.
We really
And
should.
we're going to
Yes.
also have the firehouse is having a little parade for them on October 13th, Sunday, October 13th. So if we can get a proclamation.
You want a proclamation for the October 13th
Yes.
date? Okay.
Yes, if we could.
Absolutely.
Really,
Send me some information.
okay, I will.
And just in case folks don't know, Mr. Tabler, obviously been on the town council, was our president at one point, and editor of, what was the Record Observer back in the day. So very significant contributions to our community
I
and
do believe he
fire
was the
department.
longest acting life member in the fire department. I think it was, I want to say it was 76 years
Wow.
or longer. So yes.
I think we have wholehearted endorsement of a proclamation at the very least. So that's great. Anything else, Councilman?
That's it.
All right, Councilman Beecham.
Nothing.
Councilman Worth.
Well, let's start with the easy one. I think we maybe could use another town council office, maybe, because there's a chance that both the president and the vice president would not be available, and we'd still have 3 council members to be, would have a quorum, all right? But we'd have to flip a coin, I guess, to decide who's in charge, right? So maybe a second vice president or something like that. I guess it would involve a charter change to
Well, if
do
it's a
that.
secretary, you have to take minutes.
Right, that's why I want to say secretary or treasurer, you have to like do the books or something. Maybe call it second vice president or something, or assistant.
Okay with drawing straws.
Drawing straws would be good too.
We can do that.
Okay.
In the rare instance. it
Arm
comes
wrestle?
Some bodies, when they get in that situation, you elect among those that are left, you would elect someone that's.
Yeah, we could just do it on the spot, yeah, okay. All right.
Good question.
Well, there was something that was brought up, I guess, when the Council 5 was considered, whether there should be another office or not, but we're doing enough change, we don't need to do that. Okay. Another thing that maybe we should bring up in discussion at a future meeting is murals in the historic area of town. There's potential for one of the buildings to have a mural placed on it, and not everyone in town, I believe, thinks that's maybe a good idea. So especially in the historic district, we do have some murals on buildings already. I guess we've been fortunate that they are well-maintained and pleasant to look at, but we, without any kind of regulations, you don't know what, we don't really know what we'll get if we just allow them outright. There's really nothing that would prevent us from anyone painting a mural on a building, so.
Right. Would a mural somehow be addressed through the sign ordinance?
Typically, they're not unless they're advertising a business or they have words on them. So typically, just the pictorial representation is not considered a sign, but
So a corporate logo with no words is not a sign?
I mean, most times murals are considered more art than they are sign, but obviously they are expressing things.
Could we add the word mural to the sign ordinance?
Maybe.
Maybe an easy way to solve it?
That might be an easy solution, but yeah.
Sharon,
The easiest but not the best.
Right.
in your
We did-
travels,
yeah.
have you seen other municipalities that have language specific to murals that you can think
So
of?
in Easton, this has come up several times recently, but they have a historic district commission. So the murals that have come up have been in the historic district and therefore fall under their purview, and there are guidelines. They're not specific to murals, but at least they have some guidelines about, different standards that they can apply to it. But they've talked about adding specific ones for murals.
Yeah, and I believe the our comp plan recommends that we establish some kind of historic committee, historic district committee, but we don't have that yet.
Could we establish some emergency moratorium tonight to prohibit some definition of murals until we get that worked out?
Well, it would take, just like, because whatever we're talking about, if we're doing a historic, they generally would be in the zoning ordinance. So it would be like the moratorium that we did tonight, which would require the process of public hearings, ordinance, advertising. But we could start that process. We just couldn't,
It
we
wasn't
couldn't
part of
enact
the
it tonight.
zoning ordinance, but I'm reaching for answers here,
I mean, it's the land use article that gives the authority to enact historic district provisions, so that's why they're typically found within the zoning ordinance.
Probably want something town-wide though, wouldn't we?
Oh, on murals, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. But still, depending on how you want to implement that, I assume you want to do it through the planning commission review or something like that, or somebody under that
I
jurisdiction.
just, thinking about putting a hold on it while we think this through, how best to accomplish that. Is there a way to do that this evening?
I don't think there's a way to do it this evening, and I'd be hesitant based on the freedom of speech and expression of murals to do anything too hastily without looking into what our options are.
All right.
So just out of curiosity, is the appetite of the council present this evening that we look or explore guiding principles that maybe other municipalities have adopted?
Right, we can discuss it at our next meeting, I suppose, just be.
How would we start the process tonight? If it's going to be a process, how would we start the process?
I think it would be to direct the staff to look into, Stacy and I can look into what options we have and come back, report back to you at your next meeting.
Okay,
Motion to direct as such.
so moved.
We have a motion, and I'm taking that as a second.
Second, yeah.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We won't do a roll call vote, and I'm for that as well. Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you. Sorry, I was getting my place.
Remember where you were.
Thank you, Councilman Worth. Just one thing for me tonight. We did have a short call that all of our attendees were not able to join on the Hometown Heroes banner project, but we did use that opportunity. Our town manager, Public Works Department folks Just to kind of button up some of the questions that remain now that and I want to highlight again, our council president's success in getting a formal yes or no from Delmarva Power on being able to use their poles. And of course, we have a yes that we can. So I did send an email that you all may have seen after that, just asking Leah Hall, the project manager and Gold Star mother, if she could just clarify, because what we're hearing is that they have folks through the Legion and somebody with a bucket truck to just go ahead and do the installations. And so it makes sense for Public Works to have something in writing that says, okay, there's a committee of folks that are going to not only do the initial installation, but the upkeep, the maintenance, the replacement. And then, some sort of formal communication to Delmarva Power. Here are the pole numbers in question that are, for the first banners to be installed, and then thereafter. So a couple things to button up. And if this private group's not going to do it, then what is Public Works' role, that sort of thing. So I probably will not still be on council when this comes up again. So I just want to, again, say thank you for all the council members' support for this. As a veteran, it warms my heart that we're going to be able to recognize some folks by name and some very special veterans that are still with us here in the community, and some we've lost recently. Coach Nesbitt, of course, was one of those veterans that we lost in recent time that was one of the first banners. I said murals.
Okay, no.
So at any rate, and the second thing that I sort of just mentioned was I will be at the next meeting, of course, for the organizing session.
Not the next meeting,
The one after.
The one after.
Thank you.
You
So
still
I
have one
do
more
have
to go.
one
You're
more
not off the hook yet.
full meeting.
One
but,
more full meeting.
So that's all I have, and our
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, thank you. Meeting adjourned.